Hajime Mashite. I am the host
You're the
now.
host now. Should I be scared?
Yes.
Okay. Welcome everyone to OCHATO, the fortnightly podcast where we drink tea and review manga. I am Suellen.
I am Oliver.
What? No, I did last week's.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, I'm sorry. Let's start again.
You know what? It doesn't really matter. Okay.
No, it doesn't really matter. I'm sorry.
I broke order. I was like, I'm breaking order here, aren't
I? And I'm Jade from my closet.
And I'm Oliver. Are you not just going to cut my previous one in? You could just be spiteful and do like a
Shall we
little
just
cut.
start again? Welcome everyone to OCHATO, the fortnightly podcast where we drink tea and review manga. I am Suellen.
I am Jade.
And I am Oliver. Sorry.
Sorry.
Every 2 weeks, we would pick a manga that one of us has recommended and we'll read up to a certain chapter and discuss the manga with a mega ton of spoilers. This is the first time we recorded this. This week, we are reading Delicious Indulge by Ryoko Kui.
Don't look at me like I'm going to have any idea.
Yeah, you're the one who's learning Japanese. So... This is one of my favorite manga, but before we diving in, we must know the answer to the most important question. What is everyone drinking in their mugs?
What have you got, Sue Ellen?
I have Puka Nighttime.
Mm.
The smell is quite pungent.
Pungent? That's not a good word.
But the drink itself is quite nice, but the smell, I don't know why, it just puts me off a little bit, but it's good.
Interesting choice. How about you, Jade?
I am also drinking nighttime tea, but it's the Sainsbury's version and not the Puka one because I am surviving on the kind of dregs of tea in my tea box.
Nice. I'm on the English breakfast because it's 8:30 in the evening, which means it's perfect time for an English breakfast tea. Yeah. There is no wrong time. Yes.
So we are reading up to chapter 28, which is the official volume 1 and 4. So what is it about? When young adventurer...
Are you just reading the Wikipedia description here?
Yeah.
No, do your own.
Okay. Oh, my own. So, we join a group of young adventurers. Well, young is being generous. Laios and a Hartford halfling or Hartford. What did it say?
Halfling.
Is there a difference?
Yes. Half foot is an injury, and halfling is
Wait.
a race.
Did you say Hartford in the manga?
What? Really?
Oh, maybe I just read wrong. Anyway, so we have a human Laios, Chochuk the halfling.
I take it back. It is half foot in this manga. You were correct.
Okay. So all of these sort of insanely diverse characters come together and fighting a dragon in a mysterious dungeon that suddenly appeared. However, they were out of supplies, out of money, and very hungry at the time. So everyone's defenses are down, and the sister to Laios, Farlin, also a healer, I believe, on the group, was consumed by the said dragon. But so they were forced to retreat out of necessity, and the whole plot is about them trying to get Farlin back, trying to track down the red dragon. However, again, they're poor, they're broke. So Laios had the insane idea of making do and surviving on dungeon monsters. And the whole series is basically a comedy, slice of life, cooking adventure. Yeah, so first impressions, what did people think about it at first glance?
I think it's a great concept. And especially after playing Dungeons and Dragons, I understand, where they're coming from, and like all the petty arguments that they have are like, yeah, we have them too. And I like that it's got like a light-hearted twist on these kind of adventurer type mangas. And right from the start, I was laughing so hard. Like, it's so funny the way Laios just picks up a walking mushroom by its body and says in such a nonchalant manner, "Let's have this for lunch." It's like, of course you'd want to have it for lunch. I thought there were loads of comedic and cute moments when, for example, Laios confirms that he's been waiting to eat the stuff in the dungeon for ages. And how he goes from liking monsters to immediately just, the train of thought is chewing towards wondering how they taste. And like, it's just such a fun manga to read, and I really, really loved it. And it's one of those mangas that I binge read. I just sat down one afternoon and I just, got up to where we decided chapter 28. And it's got a lot of little quirks that I really love that, call back to the kind of role-playing kind of genre. For example, for each meal, it gives the stats of the meal sometimes. And I love that they go deep into the anatomy because it really builds this world. So overall, a very, very solid manga, and it's not what I expected at all. But yeah, what about you, Ollie?
First impressions actually were so lukewarm. Mostly because I tried reading this about a year ago, and I got about 3 chapters in, and I was like, and I didn't come back to it. And then it turned up in this, and I got again 3 chapters in, like 2 days ago, because it's been a busy couple of weeks, and I was like, okay, I'll come back to this. And then I like sat down with it, stuck with it, pick one, Ollie. And once we got maybe 16 or so chapters in, then I started really enjoying it. The world building is excellent, but I found right near the start I didn't have too much of an emotional connection. Like, I didn't even know who the party member that died was or why I should care. Of course I did by the time we got near the end of chapter 28, but the first impressions actually weren't incredible. After that, however, got a lot better, and I got pretty suckered in. For reference, it's another one of the ones that I've like sat down to read, and then I've hit chapter 28 and I'm like, nah, not enough, let's keep going. So yeah, strong.
Yeah, I'm really glad that you guys enjoyed it, because I had the same impressions as Ollie. At the beginning, I found it quite slow. Again, I didn't really care for the characters either. So even though I do enjoy slice of life, well, I proclaim to be anyway, but it's more comedic, and this one is comedic as well, but it's centered a lot on the cooking, and yeah, I wasn't very into it. But second time around, because I already come to know the characters so well, I loved it. I enjoyed it much more than I did when I first read it, because I had this wealth of information, and the jokes just hit a lot harder, and I just noticed a lot more details. I think the one thing I didn't notice when I first read it is I'm sure every mangaka, does this, because they have to draw the whole thing, so they have the choice to like add in details, like little bits if they want. But for me, I didn't notice it at first, but now going back, I see a lot of sort of like, I'll just give a quick example. When they're in the dungeon and when they were first started cooking, or everyone was staring at them, and you just see in the corner of like, it was a panel where it just Senshi chopping probably mushrooms, I can't remember, and you just see in the corner of the panel just this guy with like bulging eyeballs staring like, what are you doing?
You say that with the little details. I think that kind of detail in particular really helps the world building,
Mm,
because part of the thing is that this is something people haven't really tried before. It's like, eat monsters? What? And having those people in the background, just like, what are you doing? And then later on, having people like meeting them and are like, you're actually eating monsters? Are you nuts? Does really help for the kind of world that they live in.
no, definitely. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I guess we dive right in to the plot, I guess. So I guess one of the things, like bouncing off what you said, like I really enjoyed how every character has sort of their motivation. Maybe it's not like clear at the first glance, but it's sort of over time you kind of see that they're not just there for the gags. They have their own quirks and sort of dislikes and flaws even.
Yeah, I completely agree with that. And I also really like that this manga has a pretty clear goal of wanting to get the Red Dragon to save Farlin, and that was a goal that they came back to every now and then. And they kind of reminded themselves, like, hey, we're here to save Farlin. We need to keep going. We need to be strong for Farlin because she needs us. And as I got to chapter 28, I thought, like, what are they going to do after they rescue Farlin? And I actually really love the good food philosophy that they have in Dungeon Meshi. The fact that they try to use every bit of some food, and this concept of sharing a meal with others is really, really nice. And realizing that you need the nutrition to, fight these crazy battles and gain enough power. And it's very inspiring to see these dishes being created from these monsters.
Indeed. I do also really like, I think the focus is really good after the first few chapters. Once you've got into the kind of rhythm of, hey, we're going to find a monster and we're going to find a new way to cook it, or we're going to find a way to cook it that's similar to something that you would know how to cook already. And you do have that progression. You've got the clear goal, you've got them like physically progressing closer, but you've also got enough different circumstances to give each character kind of their moment to shine, and their moment to stand out from the rest and become more than just the kind of one-dimensional, like, hey, here's their joke, here's the one thing that makes them funny. They get quite a lot more than that, which I thought was really good, especially the main like five. So Laios the human, main four: Laios the human, Marcel the elf, Chelchuk the half-foot, and Senshi the dwarf. Those four in particular get some really good development at the
Yeah.
start.
At the beginning, I noticed that because only sort of Laios, Senshi, and Marcel really got the spotlight because you have one who's advocating for eating monsters and one who's an expert at eating monsters, and they have sort of a common goal and common discussion, and you have the Marcel who's like actively opposing it. But then there's Chochuk who's sort of neutral about all this, so notice that his character didn't quite really get a spotlight until the bit with the traps where oh, that's his specialty, right? He's not the fighting, he's not the healer. Yeah, he's
I
sort of
actually didn't realize he was a character until about that chapter. I was like, who is
really,
this guy and why is he with them?
yeah. And I don't know if you guys noticed this, but it's hilarious where at the beginning he has such baby eyes, like they're just all round and cute, but later you can see he sort of, I think the mangaka molded him to be more of a grumpy old man vibes.
Yeah. Isn't he meant to be 27 or something?
29.
29.
Yeah. You'll get
Who,
that. Yeah.
Senshi?
No,
No.
Chilchuk, the half foot.
Oh, right.
Mm,
Okay, I thought he was supposed to be 64.
no, that's no.
That's he might have been actually. No, no, no.
No, Na Marie. I just read this. I know.
Oh,
She's
Namari.
Namari. Yeah.
She's
Oh,
the
Namari.
dwarf lady.
Mm,
Yeah.
Who left?
Yes.
yeah. Yeah. See, that's what you said about callback, Jade. What in a way that you think that the characters who left, like the ponytail, sexy Asian guy, and Namari, you thought, you'll never see them again. But hey, Namari came back. So who knows who might be coming back too.
It's very possible.
So it's like, even
Yeah.
when things are mentioned, they do pay off, loose threads you think you'll never see again. They do come back in unexpected ways.
It works well. I do actually really like their philosophy there with some of the party members of like, they'll mention them or somebody will be introduced a little, but not like stick around. So you don't actually pay that much attention. But then when they do come in properly, you'll have that small amount of context, which makes it a lot easier to accept and kind of understand what they're doing there. I thought it was a really good way of introducing characters.
Yeah, I just love how they interact with each other. It's quite, I want to say, real and grounded, not sort of hollow, like you said, that they really sort of stick to their principles or philosophies, and you sort of see them get persuaded, maybe, especially their attitude. The main focus, their attitude towards the monsters, and you see sort of them questioning what's actually, sure, monsters like who are further to us, like fish, squid, that's okay. But what if it's a mashup of humans and fish?
That was a great chapter.
Yeah, that was amazing. It's just the realization. It's like, oh my god.
Speaking of the interactions between characters, I thought that was actually maybe the strongest bit of the story for me, because they're all different enough. Partly you just have the the ways that the different races kind of interact. So like the fact that when you get the bit with the two dwarves, that they're like significantly stronger than Laios, who you would think would be the strong guy, but he's not. He's actually not. And these little interactions they have, not just between themselves, but between them and like other people they come into. Like for example, the orcs, I thought were absolutely fantastic for not just the world building, but the character building, where you can see just the differences in philosophy in how they live. And that was for me the strongest bit. And I guess you have this in a lot of slice of lifey things, where the highlights are seeing these different characters like come into contact with one another and seeing how they vibe, basically.
What do you guys think about the aspect of, how they have died loads of times, just in different scenarios?
I think it must have sucked.
Yeah.
Yeah, because you know how Namari just freaked out when he's like, when she was used as a shield. She's like, "What the heck, old man? Like, how dare you?" And how like Laios were traumatized by armors because he was impaled by a living armor, so he just couldn't look.
Yeah.
So yeah, it must have a sort of psychological damage that they don't have time to unravel just yet, because I think every adventure is just driven by going back to the dungeon, and it's such a norm for everyone. So it's like, the first few times it happened, they must have just sucked it up and be like, well, if we want to continue in, so we gotta just bite the bullet. So yeah, I think they're just used to it now, but I feel like there's some hidden trauma. But then again, it's a slice of life. Will they dive that deep?
That was the thing, right? So in answer firstly to Jade's question, I thought they delved into it just the right amount. It's a fantasy setting, and so there's certain things that you'd just expect. Resurrection is maybe one of those. I did like that it wasn't just ignored. They talk about it a bit, and like you said with Laios's mild trauma from those, and also Chilchuk having mild trauma from the mimics, gives it just enough depth to like actually seem quite plausible. Now, it was very slice of life until like chapter, what was it, like 26?
Yeah.
When they actually like meet the dragon and stuff, and then other stuff happens too. That was when I really got on board, because it's fun having a so I think you might have even just sent me the tweet before this. I don't remember actually, where somebody was like, "This is very true to like a D&D session with some friends," and it really does feel like it. Where you've got like 90% of it maybe is just like you're messing about, you're chilling, you're doing what you enjoy. You've got these little bits here and there, and then the like 10% is like really serious, and that for me like grabbed me because I could have totally like enjoyed just reading about them finding, killing, and cooking different monsters in the dungeon, and it would have been quite enjoyable, but not. I wouldn't want to come back to it really.
Yeah.
Which I think was the problem I had with the start. Whereas once you got that, the stakes were there, and there was actually some stuff happening. I got really invested, and then the slice of life stuff seems all the more sweet.
When you get to know the characters more, it's like those moments sort of mean more. Yeah, definitely. And I love how even though it's all the chapters is like monster of the week thing, but they all sort of spin it different ways. They use it either to sort of shed a light onto the character specialties, just like Chochuk's chapter, or even just to sort of bring back, I don't know, just like introduce, was it Kensuke? Suke, the sword?
Yeah.
And it became important down the line. It's not just a gimmick.
You make a very good point, actually. There's a bit of cinematography Bible advice, as it were, that's any scene you have should do at least two things. So in a movie, you should be maybe like establishing an area and what a character's like, or, you know, for like there should never be something in a script that's like they fight. It should always be there's like a reason for it and you get the character development. And Dungeon Meshi does this really well, where you have your, like you were saying with the monster of the week, and it could just be a monster of the week, but that's not amazingly entertaining. But what it is it's actual proper character development for at least one character each time they have some.
Yeah.
Which is just chef's kiss.
Oh my god, just when you say development, I immediately think of Anne, the horse. Oh.
The Kelpie.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I thought it was quite funny.
There's so many great moments in this. Like, I think I laughed so hard. Laios is comedy gold. Like,
he's great.
He's funny without meaning to be funny.
Yeah.
Like, it's usually fueled by his passion for the monster. Like the one with the what's it called? The basilisk.
The basilisk. Basilisk. Good luck.
Yeah, like there was just a panel of him pretending to be a chicken. He's just like cow. I thought that was just like a one-time thing, and then there was the mermaid, the sirens, and he just starts singing out of tune, and Chocho just staring. I'm like, thank you for saving my life, but that was definitely.
Oh my god, I really loved the singing along with the mermaids thing as well, and also. And following on from the chicken thing, I cracked up when Laios was thinking of how cool a chicken was.
Yeah.
Just comparing the chicken. And there were just so many cute moments. For example, like Senshi sinking into the water because of his anti-magic beard.
And then the whole process of them doing the beard up with the like when you just see him with the freshly like washed beard, and everybody's like, "This is bad. This is worse."
Yeah. Yeah.
And the fact that he's like deadpan face through.
I really like what Laios in particular brings to the party, because he's got all these like bits of knowledge where he's clearly passionate about these monsters, and he knows to like sing along, or he knows what to do with like most of the monsters, and the fact that sometimes it's just not something you'd think of, and the fact that he just does it as like a matter of course works so well when you have like Marcel playing kind of the straight man in the comedy duo there. And then similarly when Marcel gets into it and some other people are just like, what's going on? It's good. I love it.
And the proud look on Laios's face when he's like, so you get it.
Yeah.
It's just like, no, don't. No, I'm not endorsing this behavior, this condoning this behavior. Wow.
Also worth a mention that I love how Senshi has about one expression. He's got slightly more, but most of the time he's got one expression, and I think it
I was
works very well.
I was surprised when the helmet came off.
Oh yeah, his head, right? You never.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was nice. Surprise. It looks nice. Very
Um,
cute.
Speaking of looking nice, what did you think of the art?
Smooth transition.
Thanks.
It's only smooth if you don't mention it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I really loved the art. I think everyone has their individual sort of features, which makes them very distinguishable in this manga. So, for example, Marcel with her elf ears, and Senshi with the huge beard, and Namari with like her hair and everything. And even like with that, it's, you know, it helps with the storyline because then you know who's talking about who. And I feel like the comedic moments are really well drawn. For example, one moment I found so funny when Laios's face got bitten by the tentacles and it just like swelled up.
Oh yeah,
That was so funny.
free as surprise.
Yeah, and I thought it was very well drawn. And even with the fights, I feel like even in very confusing scenarios, like a place where there's loads of vines and leaves and stuff, you can still clearly tell what we're supposed to be focusing on and what's actually going on. So I really loved the art.
So with the so I'm super biased. I mentioned this is like my favorite manga, and the art is one of the reasons, because I mean it helps that there are distinctive race, because it's fantasy manga. You have the elves, the half-it, the orcs, the kobolds. They're all, you know, vastly different from each other, but I think it's a lot more obvious further down the series, but actually you can already tell because there's another group who's parallel to Laios' group, with the kobolds as one of the companions. You can kind of tell how the mangaka, even within the same species, same race, she's able to, or they able to distinguish the characters, make them have their own sort of quirks and things that make them stand out. I appreciate the art a lot. I think it's the character design is definitely one of the strong points. And if you get the chance to sort of look up their sketchbooks online, a lot of people did sort of like a scanlation of it. You can see the amount of variation in all of her characters that are not yet in the series yet, but she just sort of drew in her own time, and it's just amazing to see. Yeah, I had the same consensus with you, Jade, where the action scene is very clear what's going on. It's not hard to sort of tell at all, and especially the monsters as well, so intricately drawn. And I love the sort of big panels where there's like a giant squid and there's just tiny Senshi and Laios falling off it. Yeah, I love it.
I also really love that they go deep into the anatomy of the monsters in order to provide reasons for why they would be good in a specific meal.
I really liked your point about the character designs, which I thought were excellent. You can tell I haven't got any two characters mixed up at all, even like the side characters, which is surprisingly hard to not do. So, or even surprisingly easy to do for most, and to draw characters that are so distinct, especially like when you've got so many different races drawing characters in the same race, sometimes with, for example, different hairstyles on the same one. So we see like with Marcel, when she's got either normal like nice braided hair, or when she's, you know, they've had like a surprise attack and she's got all her hair down and stuff. And the fact that you can still definitely tell it's her is excellent. similarly, the action scenes, the angles that are chosen, and the kind of shots that they choose to draw, I think are an excellent choice. I would like to see a few more of the kind of large scale shots. So I'm aware it's set in a dungeon, so you're not really going to get any of the like pan out, like here's flipping Anor Londo or something. But it does all feel very dungeony, for better or worse. Having said that, character design excellent, action excellent, and in general the quality of the like the drawing itself I think is comfortably above average. So yeah, I like it a lot.
Do you guys have any sort of favorite characters?
That's a tough question, Suellen, because
If it's too tough, I have a second question that's similar, but it's more practical.
no, it's okay. It's okay. I am having a tough time choosing between Marcel and Laios. Marcel, I flipping love that her ears work almost like a dog ear, where when she's kind of sad, they droop. I love it. But Laios, I flipping love his just obsession with dungeon monsters and his way of thinking. So it's got to be one of those two.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with Laios. He's so ridiculous. Like I wrote down one of the key the moments I love is that when Marcel was tangled up, bounded by the man-eating plant, and he's like, "So how does it feel?" It must feel pretty good, right?
And then Marcel just like, what?
Oh, yeah, and it's just so I love it. Did you guys? Sorry, this is sort of like a side note. Did you guys happen to read the monster stories? I love them as well. They give so much sort of plot proposition that weren't explored in main one.
Are you saying the extra detail little bits where they just talk a bit about each of the monsters that they ate in the last few chapters?
Yeah, basically.
Yeah.
So it's like there's the one where when the orc and Laios was talking about how they view sort of beauty differently.
Yes.
And then they were talking about similarities. And then he was mentioning how the bosoms and the butts of his wives are looking pretty attractive, and she's like, "No, I like ears and elf ears, and we think elves are beautiful." Yeah. So I think for me it's very hard as well to pick. But Laios is just too much, man. Also, actually, I also like Farlin as well. Even we do not get to know her that much, only through sort of flashbacks, but I think she's a very kind-hearted person, and I just love her.
I have a close contender actually of Namari, the dwarf girl.
Oh yeah, she's pretty badass.
I really like her design and the thing they've done with the like mop of hair on the top. I love it.
Yeah.
Yeah, for me, my favorite would actually be Senshi. I've loved him from the moment when he kind of like poked his head around the corner and started watching them and was like, kind of, I could tell his emotions in that scene were just like, oh, I want to join them because they have an interest in what I'm interested in. And I also love how, you know, he just offers to help them with the walking mushroom and like teaches them without even knowing who they really are, like the group. And I also love that he cares for the golems so much, and that he grows vegetables on them as well. And I just think he's so sweet and such a sweet character. But Suellen, I'm interested in hearing what the second question was going to be.
Yes. But before that, I just want to add that, yeah, I just think all the characters are very strong and lovable. And
Yeah.
although they are flawed,
Even you,
each in their
Chilchuck.
own way. Yeah, I think he's definitely, in terms of sort of complexity, a little bit weaker than the rest. I think it just he didn't really have a chance to shine, and he's sort of quite laid back. But you know, I think we're seeing more of his personalities now, and not to spoil it, but I think you guys definitely will get to know him more when you read further on.
Good.
He sort of leans more into the the grump,
Uh-huh.
or the little bit. And yeah, I just love how Senshi is just so passionate about maintaining the ecosystem of the dungeon.
He's a good
And then
guy.
when he, yeah, I just love that he's part of the dungeon now. Like it's
Yeah.
he lives and breathes a dungeon. He's gotta be the advocate for that.
Yeah.
So my other question, which is kind of similar, but it's like if you were forming your own dungeon crawling group, if you could only pick 2 people you've met in this series so far, who would you pick to go on an adventure with you? So the first people you would try to poach and recruit.
I'd like that ridiculously overpowered elf girl, please.
Yeah.
Um,
Wait, is it Farlin or is it?
no. I'm talking about the one that appears in like chapter 28, I think.
Oh,
The chapter we had to read up to.
interesting. Do you know who they are?
No idea, but they're strong, so I want them in my party.
Wait.
I think I do.
So,
They've said kind of who, but it's outside the scope of this episode, so I'm not going to say.
no, as in like, do you recognize them? Because they appeared before.
Oh, in the paintings, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Sorry,
yeah.
that's what I was alluding to.
Yes. So there's an elf girl that appears in the paintings, and also appears like in I think chapter 28, who I would like in my party. And then did you say I can pick 2?
Yes.
Senshi, I love good food. Yes, please.
Amazing. What about you, Jade?
Thank you, Chris.
2, right?
Yeah.
Does Laios' sword count as one?
Just the sword, not. I think you get Laios as an add-on
to the sword. So you pick
you.
the sword and Laios is the add-on.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, like, has he been? Yeah, I guess he knows a lot about monsters. That's a good thing. But I don't think he's particularly good at caring for the health and safety of the members. He just cares about killing, mostly.
And eating.
Eating of the monsters.
I think I might take Marcel and Chilchuk purely because of their skills and their way of fighting and moving through the dungeon. So yeah.
Yeah, no. Oof, yeah, I think Chilchuk as well because he can actually, it would save us a lot of time in terms of navigating and also pointing out traps and stuff. He'll be a great asset. You don't want to die on the first floor. Maybe Farlin, because they hinted at like she's a healer. I'm just scared of getting hurt. Like
evidently from your choice.
Like honestly, like I started playing Hades, and like so it's also like a dungeon crawling sort of game, and just every sort of upgrades I get is to do with health. Like damage is like second, but health upgrade is like the most important. Yeah, so
a good philosophy for life.
Yeah, exactly. Cool, awesome. So as per OCHATO tradition, we take a character or characters. I mean, there's no rules here. In the OCHATO podcast, we go wild. We take a character or characters from the last week's episode and have a mashup with. We discuss what would it be like if they were to live in the world of the manga this week. So last week we read One Piece. Let's say if Luffy and maybe friends were to exist in the world of Delicious and Dungeon or Dungeon Meshi, what do you think would happen?
Well, given the fact that Luffy just immediately ate the fruit he wasn't meant to eat, I can see him being the one that eats like everything raw. And sometimes it works out really well, and sometimes he gets parasites.
Oh no!
So he'd be basically the equivalent of Laios, I think. Just like maybe eating a little too much,
but with zero monster knowledge and just pure
appetite.
Pure appetite.
I agree. I think because he loves food so much, he would try everything at least once, even like the weird. I don't know, maybe would he have the dilemma in his head whether to eat stuff with a human face on it?
Nah, he's so like he'd be like he'd decide one way or the other, and then absolutely nothing would change his mind. So it would either be totally fine, doesn't matter what you say, what you think, or
Yeah.
it would be totally unforgivable, and then he'd just never
Yeah.
eat it.
Yeah. And I also think that if him and his crew uh, came into this universe, I think they would make a great dungeon party.
Yeah, I agree. They would.
And because like Sanji would be their chef.
He'd be
And
the sushi guy.
yeah.
Oh, that's amazing.
Yeah.
I think, you know what, like, because I read a lot further, but it's just like, I think we're forgetting the main sort of goal. You know, sure, the right now the goal is to save Arlen, but the bigger one is to venture into the dungeon and find to kill the lunatic magician.
No, isn't
and
it
sort
to eat
of
the food, eat the monsters? That's definitely the goal. Have you read the title of this manga?
No, it's not. That's just a means to an end. No. So I think in a way maybe Luffy and friends would be interested. I think they would be more interested in the treasure, but I guess owning the golden city, that would be a lot of treasure.
That would
So
be a
I
lot of
think
treasure.
they'll be very fitting in this scenario. And I feel like they will definitely be weirded out by eating with the monster eating. But I feel like Luffy is a wild spirit, so he's like the first to sort of happy to try Senshi's cooking. I just think they'll get on well.
I agree. Do you reckon our main cast will eat the magician?
What? I mean, but the magician, yeah, yeah,
It's like eating half a centaur.
no, but yeah, but they already said they don't eat demi-humans, so I don't know. They
But if
drew
you're
a
eating
line.
half a demi-human, just the
Do we
human
know
part,
what who the magician is, or what the magician is yet? I don't
I'm
know.
sure they're very magic rich.
Yeah,
We'll find out. We do not endorse this.
yeah. No, that's
No.
you took me on a wild ride. Okay, so any final thoughts? Just summarize your love for the manga, and would you keep reading?
Yeah, I really love this manga because it's just so different from anything else that's there already in terms of, you're just going around and eating all these monsters in the dungeon. And it's got a great cast of characters, it's got a great storyline, the art is great, and I definitely found myself wanting to keep reading. The only thing is that this manga has impacted me so much that it has changed the way I view dead monsters now. So I was watching this anime called Dororo recently, and one of the main characters sliced up a huge beast so that like its bloody limbs were like on the ground, and I immediately started thinking about what it would taste like in a soup, and then I realized like what
What are you doing?
what am I thinking about? Yeah, it's very impactful. So I think I would recommend it to everyone who loves a laugh and is looking forward to a manga about good monster cuisine.
Amazing.
I very much enjoyed it. I think once you get past the start, maybe you get 5-6 chapters in, it really picks up, and then it's a really nice twist on the regular fantasy. We're adventurers in a dungeon trope. It's a good twist. The art is good. The characters are really the highlight. Their design, the way they interact. I'm going to go and read some more right after this podcast. So definitely a recommend from me.
Awesome. For me, you already know, I love this manga. It's definitely my top, and I already caught up with the official translations, and I would recommend anyone who loves reading comedic adventures and manga series with good art, and especially if you like D&D. It's like a giant D&D. The main characters go off track all the time, So yeah, 100% would recommend if you want a good laugh. The plots does thicken. It gets pretty thick. It just needs a little bit patience.
I like me a thick plot. I thought Delicious in Dungeon was like because we've had a few cute ones now. Grand Blue Dreaming was funny. One Piece was funny and cute. Delicious in Dungeon was funny and cute.
Yeah.
So I was like, okay, we need something with at least a bit of zing. Not that I haven't very much enjoyed the last few. So I've switched it round from another comedy to the spicy AF Purple Hyacinth. They end each episode with their like hallmark
Let's make it
saying,
spicy.
yeah, which is the two creators being like, let's make it spicy.
Yeah.
And that it is. The first few chapters, maybe more so.
Wait, so next week we're reading Purple Hyacinth.
Indeed.
It's on Webtoons, right?
Yes. So next week we'll be reading Purple Hyacinth, chapters 1 to 29 by Ephemeris and Sophism. I think it's actually a Western comic, you know. I support them on Patreon, would recommend, but you can read it for free on Webtoons. They have an app. It's pretty good. I think you can also just read it on the web. The name would imply. Would recommend.
Oh, and I think the artist is Asian.
Oh,
Nice. Thank you so much for joining us this week for Dungeon Meshi.
Or Delicious in Dungeon.
And see you next time for
The next episode.
which is
Next week.
right.
Right. See you next episode.
See you next episode.
Okay, we'll use yours.
Yeah.
Are we fighting? Is this what fighting is?
No, I don't
Next
understand.
week we're reading Purple Hyacinth.
I don't understand what you
Oh,
want from me.
Webtoons.
I just said that.
Yeah, well, I'm going to say again. Use
okay.
mine. No, I'm kidding.
I'm sorry.
I'll use everyone's.
No. Awesome.
Nice. Woo.